Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of American Spaces on Air podcast, an initiative brought to you by Instituto Chileno Norteamericano de Santiago and the American Academy of Science and Technology of Universidad de Talca, in collaboration with the U.S. Embassy and the American Spaces Network in Chile. My name is Nicole, and I'm the coordinator of the American Academy, and joining me today is Juan Miguel Romero, Outreach Director of Instituto Chileno Norteamericano, and we will be your host today.
Today we're speaking with Gaurav Tewari, a nationally recognized U.S. authority on artificial intelligence and the founder and managing partner of Omega Venture Partners, a pioneering U.S. venture capital firm purpose-built to invest in the most transformative and consequential AI companies at the early growth stage. With 2 decades of experience at the intersection of AI, enterprise software, and capital markets, Gaurav has invested in dozens of category-defining innovators that have scaled into industry leaders through IPOs and strategic acquisitions.
Gaurav is in Chile at the invitation of the U.S. Embassy to share his insights as one of America's leading voices on artificial intelligence. He will highlight practical strategies for how AI can elevate productivity, streamline operations, and unlock powerful engines of growth for organizations at every level, from ambitious startups and global enterprises to universities and nonprofits. Welcome, Gaurav. It's a privilege to have you here with us.
Thank you, Nicole and Juan Miguel, for that very kind introduction.
Yeah, we're very thankful for your time. I would like to start with the first question. With degrees from MIT and an MBA from Wharton, you've had an incredible career spanning AI research, venture capital, and leadership roles at major companies like Microsoft and IBM. What first sparked your conviction in artificial intelligence? And how did you see its transformative potential so early?
Such a great question. In truth, I must say my interest in the field of artificial intelligence began with my undergraduate studies at MIT, where I had the privilege of studying with some of the biggest luminaries in this field, Marvin Minsky and Patrick Winston, who at the time was a longtime head of the MIT AI lab. This exposure really gave me a foundational understanding of AI's capabilities, as well as an appreciation of what still needed to happen. Many people forget that AI has been a field that's been 50 years in the making. So my initial foray into AI, in fact, began in 2007 with an investment in a company that was an early pioneer in using machine vision for online media. And that was a good investment, but obviously well ahead of its time. In recent years, though, it became increasingly evident to me that we had reached a tipping point, an inflection point, in terms of commercial viability and technical feasibility. This was something I saw firsthand through the investments that I was making. And one of the great privileges of being in Silicon Valley and being engaged with leading entrepreneurs is you sit in the very special position of having some of the smartest people in business and technologies directly share with you how they think and how they execute. My confidence in AI's trajectory, though, Nicole, really increased as I witnessed key technology milestones being hit. The signs were actually very clear if you knew where to look. In 2016, AlphaGo, which was an AI program, beat the world's first chess champion in Go. This was a much bigger deal than chess, which was a prior milestone, because in the game of Go, you have exponentially higher number of moves. So rules-based systems inherently fail. But then shortly thereafter, in 2017, you had the invention of the transformer, which is one of the building components, one of the building blocks enabling today's AI revolution. 2018, 19, and 20 saw the release of GPT-1, GPT-2, and GPT-3. So in fact, for those of us who were immersed in the field, the evidence was clear. And that gave us the conviction and the confidence to launch Omega when we did.
Great. For listeners less familiar with this topic, what are a few ways AI is already woven into daily life, often in places people don't even realize?
Yes, and in fact, you're hitting on a much bigger point, Nicole, because when we talk about what is AI, in some ways, we talk about new applications that astonish us as AI. In many ways, even if you go all the way back to Google Maps or any maps, the ability to navigate from point A to point B was one of the earliest uses of algorithmic machine learning. In more contemporary times today, you clearly see AI at work when you use a search engine. You're seeing it in language translation. You're seeing it in taking notes in a meeting. AI is getting astonishingly good. And more behind the scenes, AI is playing, for instance, a key role in big sectors of the economy already. For instance, we are investors in a company called Feedzai that is the global leader in fraud mitigation for financial services companies. Chances are, if you have logged into a bank account, Feedzai has been in the background to ensure that you're a legitimate visitor and not a fraudster. Similarly, inside companies, we are seeing AI becoming the new teammate.
Mm.
It is with AI co-pilots, we know that developers complete more tasks and it shifts their time back to areas where their human judgment is more applicable to core coding. And for everyday knowledge work, whether it's drafting content, analyzing data, engaging in customer service or communications, the data shows us that AI co-pilots are enabling faster outputs, higher quality, and particularly the gains are biggest for less tenured employees, which is really refreshing to see. So at Omega, we invest behind those transformational businesses that harness AI to make critical infrastructure safer, to make our knowledge workers more effective, and to make our decisions more defensible.
Omega Venture Partners focuses on backing early growth stage AI innovators. Can you share an example of a company you've partnered with that's having outsized impact? And what most excites you about its trajectory?
Wow, I would like to tell you that first and foremost, every company we invest in because we believe it is special. We invest in about one out of every 200 or so companies that we actively meet with. So the bar is very high.
Very competitive.
That said, I think if I look at the common denominators, I would start with the premise that in every diligence, we start with the test that is AI producing real quantifiable gains. We have no interest in AI marketing. We care about AI substance. And in fact, separating the substance from the speculation is more important today than it has ever been because the space has gotten more prominent, as you know. A couple of portfolio companies that I would like to just touch upon that I believe fit that bill, Jose Miguel or U.com, which is a company that is an AI native company, meaning that it is a company started by a wonderful team of some of the smartest machine learning and AI talent in the Silicon Valley. And they are developing a core layer for that will enable businesses to adopt generative AI. We think this is critical. It's one thing for the technology to be available, but it is equally, if not more important, for the technology to be accessible and practically usable. U.com is pioneering a level of orchestration and usability so that businesses can tap into the power of AI much more easily. And as a result, unsurprisingly, the company has seen absolutely meteoric growth. Just over the last 12 months, we have seen an exponential increase in both their business performance and the valuation. And a second company I would highlight is more of a traditional company that existed before the generative AI revolution, but which has harnessed AI to produce transformational value. Tungsten Automation is a very substantial company in our portfolio where we have, as a team, really engaged with them very closely from day one so that our expertise and our acumen can translate into real product innovations for this company. Today, the company powers automation of document workflows. Think about accounts receivables, accounts payables in the office of the CFO at 70% of the Global 2000. AI has been a huge tailwind for the value it can produce for its customers, and in turn, a great driver of enterprise value creation for investors and the company. In closing, I would just add that Omega's role ultimately is to help management teams convert clarity into compounding results, measurable impact, along with credible guardrails.
Great. That's really inspiring. Now that we have you on that subject, would you share a specific example on how you might have seen AI help a small business or family business that people can relate to improving operations and grow in a way that might not have been seen possible before implementing AI tools?
Absolutely. AI for a small business is like hiring a second shift, except which costs very little, it never sleeps, and it never gets sick or tired. It is a real force multiplier, and I do believe, this has been consistent in my meetings at Chile of how small and medium-sized businesses should view AI and can leverage AI as a true force multiplier to the benefit of the region and to their own individual empowerment. A specific example I'd like to share with you is a company that we invested in based out of Austin, Texas, called Zen Business. When we invested in Zen Business, it was quite early, about 4 years ago. And over that short amount of time, they have become the number one destination where entrepreneurs go when to form a new company. So that's quite something. Now, the way they've done it is initially they leveraged a lot of machine learning and automation to streamline their operations. That made them extremely appealing to people starting new companies and businesses who want a seamless experience, who want transparency, low cost, and efficiency. More importantly, they have grown their product today not only to help you start a business, but to help you scale it. Over 500,000 new businesses have been started on zenbusiness.com already. We're very proud of the economic impact that's creating. Today, they help you with financial planning, your invoicing, and increasingly, they're a personalized assistant that helps you with things like how do you communicate your business plan to investors? How do you think about marketing more effectively? It is truly the companion, the coach for the small business owner, not only a second shift, but someone who's empowering them. The small businesses are the backbones of every economy, and AI done right gives them scalability without bureaucracy. And so our conviction is very simple. If AI can make a 5-person team punch with the weight of a 50-person team, that's very transformative.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's something we can all relate to. Talking about a larger enterprise, do you have a story of how AI has helped a company in this category solve a problem or achieve something more remarkable?
Absolutely. And I think the general principle here is that, a lot of folks have a misconception of AI and science that ranges from the extreme science fiction scenario to more pragmatic. The reality today is that larger enterprises are seeing the biggest gains where they can integrate AI into their workflows. If there's one thing we have seen, it's that if AI can get into a workflow that your employees already engage in, they see it as an ally. It becomes Iron Man, not Terminator, right? Very simply put. And we see that individuals with AI-matched teams, without AI, teams with AI, and those without AI, the teams paired with AI perform better than teams working without AI or AI working alone. That just further supports the data, in fact, indicates that the killer use case of AI is augmentation. So winners just don't deploy the technology, they re-architect collaboration between how teams work together of people and how those people integrate the AI thoughtfully into their workflows, which allows them to shift time back to core work and to reducing the overhead of coordination. I've spoken about several examples during my recent sessions here in Chile, but we already have a bunch of quantified data with firms like JP Morgan Chase as an example, that has leveraged AI and self-declared that they see improvements on the tune of $1 to $1.5 billion this early on. And they've done that primarily by empowering their developers to be more productive. They've also done that by enabling core functions like wealth management to be much more efficient and attuned to client needs by being able to quickly assemble research and answers to clients' questions using AI as their co-producer instead of manually going and finding information. What differentiates the winners is that there must be board-level endorsement of change with AI. So it must be sanctioned and something that it starts with awareness. But the companies should focus on measurable economics and credible guardrails, which include humans in the loop. That's how our companies go from pilots to production deployments and create durable advantages.
Well, many people feel both excited and anxious about AI in their workplace. How do you see AI changing the way we work? And what advice would you give to workers worried about displacement?
You know, it's such a timely question because naturally, as with anything new, any new technology, we have to expect that there will be some level of uncertainty and fear, quite frankly, associated with it. And AI is no different. But the reality is that AI is not about jobs disappearing. It's about tasks that are shifting. A job consists of multiple tasks. And so there is no one who would tell you that I would love to do the most boring tasks that constitute my job, the most repetitive, mundane, and onerous work. That is where AI can not only make that person more efficient, but actually make them more fulfilled and happier with the work that they do because they're focusing on the things that they genuinely enjoy and where they can channel their creativity and individual talents towards distinguishing themselves. So the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, estimates about 40% of jobs globally and nearly 60% in advanced economies are exposed to AI. But it's really important to emphasize that exposure doesn't equal elimination. It means parts of these jobs will be accelerated or reshaped. Just like spreadsheets, changed accounting, but we still have lots of accountants,
Yeah,
Yes.
right?
that's a
Just
good
like
point. Yeah.
ATM machines, there was a lot of fear they would replace bank tellers. We have more bank tellers today. Why? Because ATM machines perform a very simple function of, a few simple mechanical functions. It allows the tellers now to engage with customers. So who benefits the most? What excites me really is that the data shows us there's the less experienced workers who are actually benefiting the most. This is wonderful news for all of our young workers and for all of us who have children, because those children will have the capacity to learn and be productive much faster. And history, by the way, teaches us that every technological revolution has had this same dynamic. There has been fear of job displacement.
Yeah.
But in reality, yes, there will be some near-term job churn. Mostly we see it as task churn. However, there is no doubt in my mind that as we've seen with the internet, with mobility, and even prior to that, things like the Industrial Revolution and mechanization, we will see AI expand the size of the economic pie and hopefully improve the condition of humanity at large.
Yeah, in fact, we've seen many governments try to create laws to control AI. When it comes to regulation, what principles do you believe are most important to get right at this early stage?
Yeah, I think it's a very timely question. The fastest way to scale AI is certainly not complete deregulation. It's a balance of creating credible guardrails that lower the risk burden and enable deployment. Here's what that means. It means that public policy should focus on things like talent development, reducing the information asymmetry. That's a word I heard a lot in Chile. What that means is just the sheer amount of awareness in the knowledge workers and the workforce at large in places like LATAM lags behind that of North America, for instance. Well, awareness is prerequisite to adoption and innovation. I think we can all agree. And so, you know and I think adopting policies that make it easy for SMBs to innovate is critical. I think you don't want regulation that stifles innovation. You want regulation that encourages people to think about new ideas, to get started on those new
Yeah.
ideas, but then put in place the security guardrails later, which are important as they scale. But I think it's really important to not let regulation become a gatekeeper, because that will hamper and handicap economies like nothing else.
Great. Some argue that heavy reliance on AI could make humans less intellectually agile. How do you see the balance between AI augmenting human capability versus replacing human judgment?
Yeah. AI is like a power tool.
Yeah.
People set the ends, AI proposes the means. So, by the way, in our actual work out there on consequential decisions, whether you look at health, finance, public education, the standard is human in the loop. And I think that will stay true for the foreseeable future because, as we've discussed, there are there are tasks that AI is very good at, but most people engage in workflows, not individual tasks. So when I look at the world today, human oversight, looking at the provenance of the data, evaluation of the model's results, and documentation are all very important in order for us to audit how AI systems are reaching the conclusions that they are reaching. And to be honest, I think that is necessary to build trust in these AI systems. That's how you scale trust, not just through technology, but by having humans being an intrinsic part of the AI workflow loop. Secondly, the data also tells us, as I previously mentioned, that humans and AI working together clearly outperform humans working alone. And we see this all over the economy, from support contact centers to marketing functions to sales. So, in my mind, the fix is operational. It's about having hybrid workflows where humans steer, verify the sources, and make the ultimate calls on mission critical decisions. There is absolutely no substitute, Nicole, for human judgment, interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, and common sense. This is not something that AI is very good at. And as long as people are doing business with people, as long as people are building relationships with people, the two interfacing parties should be humans, not people. At Omega, though, when I'm taking a step back, we back companies that we think about as elevating human judgment, but at the same time ensuring that trust is inspectable. The winners will be teams who use AI, governed by human accountability, and verified by transparency. That's where you get real speed, scale, and legitimacy.
Great.
You've written extensively about AI and global competitiveness, including in Forbes magazine, and you frequently speak at prominent industry forums. How do you see AI shaping the balance of power between nations, and what do you think Chile needs to do to stay ahead?
Yeah. AI is when we started Omega, it was because we had the conviction that AI will be the single biggest driver of economic value creation for the foreseeable future. If anything, from 5 years ago, the results have greatly exceeded our lofty expectations. For countries, it's critical to understand that AI competitiveness is not simply about adoption. It's about having the data, the talent, the trust frameworks, and a supportive ecosystem. The race isn't whether countries adopt AI, but how well they turn adoption into results,
Yeah.
into ROI or productivity that can be measured, and in turn into growth of GDP, growth of exports, and a culture and a mindset of innovation. Look, I think Chile has tremendous advantages. This is such a wonderful country, from the beautiful landscapes to the tremendous energy that this country possesses, to the talent of its people. There is so much potential here. Consistently, Chile is ranked amongst the region's leaders in all the surveys that we have seen. My discussions with government leaders have been around focusing on three primary levers. Data assets. Data is the fuel of AI. It's very important for Chile as a country to not just talk about digitization, but to talk about how can we harness our data and make it actually interoperable and usable in practice. Number two, talent development and awareness development. We talked about that. And finally, thinking carefully about the balance between standards and trust, but not over-regulating. So I think about measuring competitiveness as clarity of thought and execution, but also capacity to execute. So it's clarity plus capacity. Chile is showing clarity through policy and leadership. If the country continues to invest in talent and trusted data ecosystem, I believe it can punch far above its weight. The winners in the AI race geopolitically won't be the ones with the most slogans, but those with the strongest compounding foundations. And I really do believe that Chile has the chance to be one of them.
Great. And last question. If you had to predict one major way AI will change the world in the next 10 years, what would it be? What worries you and what excites you most about the future of AI?
Oh boy. Well, 10 years is there's such a long time horizon given that this space is moving at light speed. I mean, we meet with thousands of companies every year, and I just feel like every quarter, the world changes in AI every quarter. And so we are measuring change in days and weeks, not quarters and years. That said, if you look at the current evidence and what's happening, it is abundantly clear to me that AI will permeate across every sector and every industry that is consequential to the economy. I think we will see a divide between the haves and the have-nots, which is why I think it's really great that we're having this conversation. It's part of the reason I was persuaded by the U.S. Embassy to come here to Chile, because I really do feel genuinely that this region has tremendous potential. Beyond that, what excites me is the potential for AI to elevate human potential over the longer term, over the 10 years. Of course, AI will be embedded in how we work, how we live, and how we learn. But for the first time in recorded history, every person on this planet with access to the internet through a phone or otherwise can have direct first-hand access to the top experts in any topic in a personalized, curated, interactive fashion. I say each of those words with great weight. That is transformative. It means that from the rural villages of Nepal to the urban metropolis of Manhattan, we are putting humanity on a level playing field when it comes to their ability to learn, to overcome information barriers and to empower themselves. The only limiter is an individual's motivation and their persistence. Now, realistically, the risk is that we must make sure that AI, like any technology, works in the service of humanity, that humanity is not working in the service of AI. And that is where we see a critical role with Omega. The companies we fund, one, because we believe they will be the most consequential and enduring companies that will define the future. But equally importantly, two, we are actively shaping these companies so that the products that they develop are beneficial to the world at large, in addition to being economically transformative, that they elevate and uplift the human condition.
Great.
I wish we had more time to discuss this interesting topic. I think we all learned a lot from this enlightening talk. Thank you, Mr. Graf, for your visit to Chile and our podcast. It was a pleasure having you here.
My great pleasure. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Gaurav.
Jose Miguel. Thank you, Nicole, for the wonderful
Thank you.
questions. Very thoughtful.
That's everything for
you.
today. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
That was really good.
Just in time. It's 9:44.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It
Wow.
was
Good
okay,
on your
Herman?
end?
Okay? Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Wow, how time flies.
Well, that's a wrap. Thank you all for watching today and see you next time.